Last time I was here was a little more than 20 years ago. And I'm delighted to see the beautiful altar arrangement since I was last here. It's very beautiful. The whole temple room. The asasan is also very beautifully enhanced. That's fine. So, Hare Krishna. And I'm delighted to be here, especially at this time. I do writing, and this morning I was writing commentary for Garga Samhita, which is a scripture very similar to the Srimad Bhagavatam, written by Garga Muni, sage Garga Muni, you all know, the priest of the Yadu dynasty. He's the one who gave Krishna and Balaram their names. And so he wrote a beautiful thesis on the story of Krishna's life. And this morning, I was commenting on the verse in the 7th canto, where Lord Pradyumna was visiting holy places, and we were discussing how these holy places and how saintly persons, or the Lord, they create holy places just by going. When they go someplace, it becomes a holy place. And how Dhritarashtra addressed Vidura as Tirtha Tirvantanti Kurvanti, that great devotees of your caliber are holy places in themselves, and wherever they go, they make more holy places. And I mentioned that just like His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada has created hundreds and thousands of holy places just by His touch of His lotus feet, wherever He goes becomes a holy place. And I said, today I'm fortunate to be going to one of the holiest of places that He created, Commonwealth Pier, where He first stepped on the USA, His lotus feet. We'll be commemorating the anniversary of that this weekend. So I'm very pleased to be here for this auspicious commemoration occasion. Okay, so we'll read from Bhagavad Gita. First I'll say the invocation. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Bandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tvang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitangscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Japatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we'll read from chapter 6, text 35. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Asankshaya Mahabaho Mano Durnigraham Chalam Abhyasena Tukaunteya Vairagyena Chagrihyate. Lord Shri Krishna said, Almighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment. So, Arjuna is, in the previous verse, has heard the description of dhyana yoga, how to meditate, how to practice controlling the mind, sitting postures, breathing exercises, pranayama, yam, niyam, asana, pranayama, dharana, dhyana, etc. And he said, I don't think I can do this. It's too much for me. Controlling the mind, just sitting and controlling the mind, it's more difficult than controlling the wind. Chanchalam himana Krishna, pramati balavadridam, tasyaham nigraham manye, vayar eva sudushkaram. Well, Arjuna spoke this just maybe 35 years before Kali Yuga began, just very, practically speaking, on the eve of Kali Yuga. And he was speaking for himself, but he was also speaking for us, that this type of practice is too difficult. It's not meant for this age. It's not meant for Dwapara Yuga. What to speak of Kali Yuga? We can't do it. And any attempt at doing it becomes ludicrous because from the very beginning, the atmosphere is improper, the lifespan is improper. It requires a very long lifespan. This is not a short process, this type of dhyana yoga. So Arjuna's statement that I can't practice it is very significant because we know yoga is popular. But Arjuna, who is the chief knower of Bhagavad Gita spoken to Arjuna. Anyone who comes up with a conclusion of Bhagavad Gita other than Arjuna has missed the whole point. In other words, he's not authorized, he's not in the line. Krishna is the perfect teacher, and Arjuna is the perfect student. And Arjuna's conclusion, Kariche Vachanam Tava, that I will execute your order, and Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitram, Paramam Bhavam, Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adidevam Ajam Babam. His conclusion that Krishna, you are the Supreme Brahman, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you're the original person. All of his statements are as important as Krishna's. In fact, in one sense, they are the verification of all of Krishna's words. If there had not been a student like Arjuna, it would have been a problem. Because everyone would have been speculating. Krishna meant this doesn't mean this. Krishna meant this. Fortunately, Arjuna spoke, and he spoke his realizations. And then Krishna confirmed that his realizations were correct. And then Sanjaya, the student of Vyasadeva, he confirmed again that Arjuna and Krishna's discussion. For example, in the end of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, one who studies this sacred discussion between us worships me by his intelligence. One who studies this sacred conversation between Krishna and Arjuna is confirmed. And the conclusion of Arjuna is paramount. And another confirmation is that Vyasadeva, Veda Vyas, the compiler of all the Vedas, has included it, this discussion, in the Mahabharata. And sometimes Bhagavad Gita is called Gita Upanishad because it's a summary of all the Upanishads, all Vedic knowledge is compressed. So significantly, Arjuna declines to practice this Ashtanga Yoga or Dhyana Yoga. But then Krishna says, yes, it's difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by practice and detachment. And then he goes on to explain what that practice is. And the practice is clearly the process of bhakti. Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavanyaschasmi tatvata. Surrender to me, pleasing Krishna. That's the highest yoga. Other yoga processes, Dhyana Yoga or Jnana Yoga, they're more for pleasing ourselves and at the same time doing something that will help us become a little transcendental also. Gradually working our way up to something spiritual. But Bhakti Yoga it has all the Gyan, it has all the meditation, it has all the Karma Yoga, it has all the utilizing action, work. But instead of doing what I want and then giving some to Krishna, or sacrificing some for a higher purpose, or making the goal Brahman, that's good, that's a beginning. But in Bhakti Yoga, the process is that one simply acts according to Krishna's desire. And that includes everything. That includes the meditation, that includes Gyan, perfect knowledge. Vedaischa sarvairaham eva vedyo Vedantakrit Veda Vedevacha. Krishna says, by all the Vedas I'm to be known. If you know Krishna, yasmin vigyate sarvam etam vigyatam bhavati. One who knows Krishna knows everything. What else in the Vedas is there to know beyond Krishna? There's nothing beyond Krishna. The impersonalists will say that beyond the personal is the impersonal. But that's not what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Brahmano hi pratishtaham amritasya vyasya. Krishna says, I'm the basis of the impersonal Brahman, not the other way around. So there's nothing beyond Krishna. Mattak paratanam nanyat kinchadasti dhananjaya mai sarvamidam protam sutre maniganaiva. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. So what is the need for Gyan? If you surrender to Krishna, where is the lack of Gyan? You've done what the Vedas say to do. You've There's a verse in the Bhagavatam that says, one who's chanting the holy name of the Lord, he's already visited all the holy places, taken bath in all the sacred rivers, performed all the austerities. He's done all that. Now he's chanting. This is the final, the end of knowledge, the most confidential knowledge. But it's not easily understood because it can only be understood. And Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains it can't be understood by those who are not austere, who are not devotees, not this, not that. There are qualifications. But the main qualification is not necessarily previous qualifications, although there are previous qualifications. One who's chanting has performed some service in the past. But regardless of that, the chanting itself is so powerful, or the coming in contact with Krishna's devotees, or with following the principles of Bhakti Yoga, so powerful that it brings one immediately to the transcendental platform. Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate saganan samatityaitam brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Comes to the level of Brahman by engaging in pure devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance. So yes, controlling the mind by the Ashtanga Yoga process or the meditational process, as Arjuna said, is very difficult. But it's possible to control the mind by suitable, let's look at the words here. (35) Vairagena chakriyate. Yes. By practice. And in other places, yukta ahara viharasya, yukta chestasya karmasu, yukta svapna vibodasya yoga bhavati dukkha. Krishna advises that one should not eat too much, not eat too little. That's renunciation. That will help control the mind. All these practices, yam niyam. The yam niyam, the first two principles of the Ashtanga Yoga system, are also included in Bhakti Yoga. The four regulative principles are the basis of yam and niyam. Rules and regulations, regulative principles. So the Bhakti Yogis, they accept that immediately, or as soon as they become very serious, then they accept that. By following those things, those regulative principles, then they'll be able to fix the mind. Then they'll be able to go on chanting. One can chant Hare Krishna even if one is not following the regulative principles, and of course he should. But the chanting may be erratic because he's putting himself in erratic circumstances. he's putting water on the wood and then trying to light it so it doesn't light so quickly. But if one follows the principles of detachment, then the fire of devotional service, the fire of transcendental knowledge, comes very easily. Because it's spiritual, the speed is very fast. We have air speed, we can travel Today I traveled 1,500 miles or 1,200 miles or something in some hours. Well, that's jet speed, air speed. But by mind, I was thinking, before I left, I was already thinking of being a Commonwealth peer. That only took a few seconds. The mind is faster than the air. But even faster than the mind, more subtle than the mind, is the spirit soul. Going to Krishna doesn't have to take a long time. It just takes sincerity. Suitable detachment. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janiyatya Suvairagyam Jnanam Cha Yadahoitukam. The beauty of Bhakti Yoga, Vasudeve Bhagavati, our devotional service to Vasudeva Krishna, automatically gives one renunciation and knowledge. He doesn't have to try for being renounced, because the Bhakti Yoga itself, Krishna has indicated what he likes, what he prefers, and the devotees, they do what he wants. Just like eating. The devotees only eat food that's been offered first to Krishna. And Krishna has his particular preferences in what he eats. So a devotee offers only those things to Krishna that he likes, and he accepts them as prasadam, and therefore his tongue is controlled. The mind is controlled. Everything is very simple. When we accept Krishna, we don't have to, as they say, reinvent the wheel, try to figure out our own system. Yata mata tata pata. So many theories, so many ways, so many theories. Everyone has their own way of reaching the Supreme. There are millions of people, so there's millions of ways. But am I going to be able to come up with a perfect system to reach the Supreme, especially if I don't even know what or who the Supreme is? How will I do that? With my conditioned mind, my limited intelligence, my questionable sincerity, how will I be able to come up with a perfect system? But Krishna has given the perfect system. Bhagavad Gita. Perfect, simple, sublime, deep. You can't get any deeper. But at the same time, simple enough to understand, not that we have to come up with something so mystical that no one can figure out what anyone's talking about. Krishna is not trying to juggle words to make it confusing, make it vague. It's very clear. But surprisingly, until the Bhagavad Gita as it is, it was difficult for the people to get it. Even we were discussing this morning about Thoreau and Emerson. I think they're from this area. So they had a great appreciation for Bhagavad Gita, and all glories to them. We quote their glorification of Bhagavad Gita. That's preliminary. They had a preliminary understanding of Bhagavad Gita, and that's glorious. But to go further, to fully surrender oneself and become a completely surrendered Krishna Bhakta, understand Krishna. Manushanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati sitai. Many appreciate Bhagavad Gita as a thesis, a nice philosophical discussion, and they use it for giving their own philosophies in the name of Bhagavad Gita because it's a popular book. And because it's become fashionable to give your own interpretation of what Bhagavad Gita is about and write your own philosophy using that, that's become popular. But no one became devotee of Krishna, pure devotee of Krishna, until Bhagavad Gita as it is. Now, thousands all over the world in places that heretofore one would have thought unlikely. But the teachings of Krishna are like the sun. And Vyasadeva has presented them purely. He's done his job perfectly. Now the rest of the followers of Vyasadeva, they have their duty is to present Vyasadev's teachings without change. And that's our responsibility, to present Prabhupada's teachings without change. Those we are his followers, and it's our duty to understand what he gave us, because unless we understand it and we're living it, how can we give it to others? You can't give something that you don't have. It's not just theoretical. There's Gyan and Vigyan. Gyan means knowledge, theoretical knowledge, and Vigyan means realized knowledge. Like Arjuna. Krishna asked him, Yatecha Sita Takaru, now do what you wish to do. What is your conclusion? Arjuna, you're my student. Now, what do you say? And he concluded, yes, I'm ready to act as you wish. That's the perfect conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. That's the perfect bhakti yoga. The perfect yoga system is to please Krishna. Very simple. Krishna says what he wants. It's not difficult to understand. And the Shastra, the Guru and the Sadhu, they also confirm what Krishna wants and how to practice controlling the mind. Manmana bhavamad, he says, Manmana, always think of me. So there you go. There's your dhyana yoga. There's your meditation. Meditate on me. What does it mean to meditate on Krishna? Krishna's name is Krishna. Krishna's form is Krishna. Krishna's instructions, Krishna. Krishna's pastimes, Krishna. Krishna's paraphernalia, Krishna. These things are all anything in relationship with Krishna is Krishna. Manmana, always think of me. We have so many books to help us think of Krishna. We have the Srimad Bhagavatam in particular, 10th canto. But don't consider the 9 cantos before that unimportant. That's also thinking of Krishna. It's like the comparison is given that the first 2 cantos are like his lotus feet, Krishna. And then the next canto is shanks, and then his knees, and then his waist, and then moving up. 10th canto is his smiling face. But you can't say that I only like the smiling face of Krishna and I don't care for his lotus feet. No, Krishna is all Krishna. So we need the 9 cantos preparing us for the 10th canto. Otherwise, when we hear 10th canto, we won't believe it. Or we'll think that Krishna is an ordinary. Either it's exaggeration, or we'll exploit it. Imitative. If we hear 10th canto and we haven't understood Bhagavad Gita and the 9 cantos, how will we understand Krishna's lifting Govardhan Hill? Even Brahma was bewildered. Even Indra was bewildered. Even Shiva was bewildered. What to speak of us? There's no doubt we'll be bewildered. There's not even a question. We have to prepare ourselves. Work our way up, understanding that Krishna, as he says in Bhagavad Gita, that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's in everyone's heart as Super Soul. He's the overseer, Upadrashta, Anumanta, the permitter. Sarvasya Prabhavo Matak Sarvam Prabhat. All the material and spiritual worlds emanate from him. What about that understanding of Bhagavad Gita? Who's giving that? Generally, when you see commentaries on Bhagavad Gita or translations, they never get that part. And if they do, it becomes some kind of a poetic, yes, we're all the universe, we're all universes, we're all together, one. No, Krishna doesn't say that. He's the source of all the universe. He's the source, not we're the source. We're not one with him. We're little jivas. Mamaivangso, jiva loke, jiva bhuta sanatana. We're his parts and parcels. He's the Lord. He's supreme. We're subordinate. We're under the influence of nature. There's so much in Bhagavad Gita. And the suitable practice, the renunciation, Bhakti Yoga, that's for this age. And within the Bhakti Yoga process, Harinama, Harinama, Harinama Eva Kevalam. When Prabhupada came to America, he brought a pair of kartals with him and Bhagavatams. That was his weapons. And it was successful, chanting Hare Krishna and hearing about Krishna's glories. Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna Swadama Upagate Dharma Jnana Dibisa Kalo Nasta Disham Mesham Purana Kotinodita. Now that Krishna has left, gone back to the spiritual world, what is the process? Who will uphold the religious principles? And the answer is Srimad Bhagavatam, is Krishna. This is our Bhakti Yoga system. Everything's included there in other yoga practices, but it's made very simple, very easy. One doesn't have to practice for thousands of years. Yeah, even the demigods are eager to come to Bharatvarsha in Kali Yuga because the process is so easy. Thank you for your attention. If there are any questions, we can take a few.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for coming here. I have a question. Is that in the modern times in Kali Yuga, it seems like there's a lot of really intense things happening, like September 11th or Boston bombings or earthquakes and all these things. So, what is some practical advice for a devotee to control their mind around like such intense external things happening?
Manmana bhava mad bhakto. Always think of me. Better to see things through the eyes of Krishna or the eyes of the Shastras, Shastra Chakshusha. Otherwise, when we start seeing everything through the eyes of CNN, we really get confused. Or scientists or whoever's commenting, they don't understand, they're bewildered, and for sure, those who become their students will also be bewildered. So, when we hear from Krishna, when we receive it through the eyes of Shastra, then everything becomes clear. Even old age is not so difficult to take. When you see it, that this is Jara Vyadi, Dukkha Doshanadar, these are the miseries. Otherwise we're all worried, oh, I'm going to get a disease, I'm going to get old, or I'm already getting old, or whatever it is. And we're disturbed because everyone's telling us you're supposed to be disturbed. Everyone's telling us, no. I just heard one man, he raised $450 million to try to counteract some disease, and everyone was applauding as if he's going to stop disease. These people were so emotional. Oh, great, we're going to stop disease. You can't stop disease. Not in the material world. You can stop disease, but not that way. By bhakti yoga, you can stop disease. Get out of the diseased environment, go back to the spiritual world, then there's no disease. But no, that they'll not take. They'll spend $450 million. Foolishly. So, if you take the foolish person's svavidvaraho strakarai sangstutak purushak pashu mayat karnapatot peto jatu nama gadagraja. Men who are like dogs, hogs, camels, and asses. Praise those men who never glorify Krishna. So then we become the fools, because we're glorifying them. We're watching them, we're listening to them, we're paying them. And we're becoming their students, so we become bigger fools. So don't get entangled, don't get caught up. Of course there's going to be miseries. What did you expect? What were you thinking? You were thinking everything was going to be nice here? There's slaughterhouses going on, there's brothels going on, everyone's intoxicated, they're teaching in the schools atheism, Darwin's theory. What did you expect? Everything to go beautifully? If that were the case, that would be horrible. If by engaging in all sinful activities, everything was nice, then we would have serious doubts about the scriptures. So therefore, this is supplementing, it's supporting our faith in the scriptures that there are miserable things going on. So be thankful. It confirms our faith that yes, there must be horrible things going on because look at all the sinful activities we're doing. Yes?
My question is, in the Gita, sometimes Lord Krishna says that only my devotee knows me, and sometimes he says, but me no one knows. So, understanding that we will never know Lord Krishna, because knowing Krishna means to be equal to him. How to understand when Lord Krishna says, my devotee knows me?
He knows me to some extent.
In what aspect?
To the extent that Krishna allows him to know. We cannot know Krishna fully because he's immeasurable, aprameyo. He's Ananta. but to some extent. No one knows me fully, but the devotee knows me to some degree. And that knowing, in other words, the devotee is happy to know Krishna to the degree that Krishna wants to reveal himself. And Krishna reveals himself more and more to his pure devotees. That's part of the... Just like your father. You can't know your father completely. But as you become a good son, you become a faithful follower, then he reveals more and more to you. Son, I want to tell you this. Son, I want to reveal this to you. And you're happy to have that knowledge. But you can't demand it, you can't force it. Father, you have to show me all the accounts, you have to show me all the secret. He doesn't have to. Naham prakashya sarvasya, yogamaya samavrita. I'm never manifest to the fools, only to those who are surrendered to me. Then I reveal myself. Is there anything else? Yes.
You mentioned something about sincerity, and I was wondering, is there a criteria that we can decide whether someone or myself is sincerely, or am I doing this for ulterior motives, or doesn't even matter because you just do service and then kind of purify and then ulterior motives goes away, or is it possible that you can continue doing with ulterior motives?
Well, yes, sincerity means without motives, so, and with faith. To the degree that one follows Krishna's instructions, accepts them, that's his sincerity. If one, for example, has doubts about Krishna, then he's not sincere. Why? Because Krishna is saying, I'm the Supreme. Ahus Tvam Rishaya Sarva. All the great sages declare that you're the Supreme. And if you still have doubts, well, I don't know. Well, what do you mean you don't know? Krishna said it, Vyasadeva said it, Narad Muni said it, Asita said it, Devala said it. What do you want? Arjuna said it, Bhaktisiddhanta, Lord Chaitanya, Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, the list goes on. How can you say you don't know? Well, I don't know. You're not sincere. But you're still not lost. It may take longer. If you're sincere, then you just accept it and you follow. And if you're not sincere or not so sincere, but you have a little faith, then that's also good. Then chant, or hear, or associate with the devotees. And then, if you're fortunate, Bhagavan Jeev, Brahmande Brahmite Kono Bhagavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasade Bhai Bhakti Lata Bij. Then if you're very fortunate, then you'll get the association of pure devotees. And then they'll give you more faith in Krishna. So, yes, ideally we should be fully faithful and sincere immediately, but that sincerity can also be cultivated. It's a matter of faith. So I think we'll stop there. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.